workbook pages 54 and 55. Our goal for today is to better understand a text by summarizing or restating the author's most important ideas in our own words. So as we get started, let's begin with our vocab word. Again, remember, I will give you the meaning. You have to do the example. So your first word is desperate, and it means filled with a great need. Oops. For something to happen. An example. What is one desperate need that many students in your school have? Many students in our school have you're going to use your vocab word, so a desperate need to obtain better blank in order to blank. So something you need to obtain better, you could use better sleep in order to make it through the school day. Go ahead and pause the video if you need more time. Next word, struggle. To try very hard to achieve a goal, even though it is hard. So what is something that you might struggle to achieve? So I might struggle to blank. So you could say I might struggle to get straight A's. I might struggle to um, get to school every day. I might struggle to save money. Okay, we are now going to read the story of a child slave. I'm going to read it. You're going to fill in the words as we go. Slavery is the practice of owning other people and forcing them to work for 27 million people around the world today are enslaved. Many are children. They work long hours at that are difficult, dirty, and sometimes deadly. It was 3 a.m. time for James Kofi Annan to get up. James was just 6 years old, worked on a fishing. His workday began every morning at 3 o'clock and did not finish until 8 o'clock at night. In between, he might be one meal. He might go hungry all day. He might be yelled at, beaten, or thrown into the. James was not paid for his labor. He was a child. James was born in Ghana, a country in West Africa. In 1975, his parents named him after an important local. James was the youngest of 12 children. His parents hadn't gone to school and couldn't or write. Like many local people, they struggled to support their family. When James was 6, 3 men visited his village. They wore expensive-looking clothes and shoes. Each time they left the village, they took local children with. They were at the top of 55. People said the men were helping the children. They said the men gave the children and clothing and provided them with an education. One day the men took James with them. James soon learned that the rumors about these were false. The men weren't going to send James to school. They were fishermen, and James' father had James to them. James was now a child slave. James worked on Ghana's Lake Volta for years. He helped the men fish. The work was difficult and dangerous. James became many times, yet he was never taken to a doctor. If a fishing net got stuck underwater, a boy had to dive to free it. The water was and deep. A few boys panicked and drowned. James was to escape. He tried several times, but was always caught and beaten. When James was 13, he received sad news from the important man he was named after had died. The fisherman let James return to his for the funeral. James never returned to work. He had finally escaped. His father feared the fishermen would come after him for the money they had paid. Still, James refused to slavery. He was now a teenager. He had no money, no clothes. He was illiterate. But James had his freedom, and he planned to it wisely. First, he would attend school and get an education. Then he would once he obtained an education, money, and experience, he would use those to help other children. Okay, what happened to James Kofi Annan after he was taken from his village? After leaving the village, James became a child slave. All right, underline the most important details about James' life as a child, then summarize it in your own words. Okay, so what happened to James? So let's start on this page right here. So we know that James's father, so I'm going to highlight this, sold James and he became a child slave. Okay, he worked on the Lake Volta for 7 years. He tried to escape, but was always caught and beaten. He eventually did escape, and then he got an education and then a job. All right, so after being sold into slavery, so we're going to kind of condense this. So he worked for fishermen. He worked 7 years for fishermen. He tried to escape, but was caught. Eventually, I know this is a lot. You might have to write on the side or draw an arrow. Eventually, he escaped and got an education and job. Okay, this one. Why do you think James's first step as a free person was to attend school? Attending school would help James to, so most people go to school to get an education, right? Because they get an education to get skills in order to do that job. So attending school would help James to gain skills, to get a job, or make money. All right, and underneath this, strategy toolkit. Summarizing a text can help you identify the central ideas in a text and can teach you to keep personal opinions distinct from the information in the text. So again, when we did a summary right here, up here when we did summary, and we just put our basic, like what happened. There's no opinions, there's not how I felt about it, it's just the factual information. All right, when you are done, please make sure you submit this, rewind the video if you need to. Reach out if you have any questions or need any help.